Welcome to Our Social Impact, brought to you by the Prison Scholar Fund. Its mission provides education and employment assistance to help those currently and formerly incarcerated succeed and thrive in society while avoiding homelessness and the revolving door of reincarceration. The PSF also advocates for reform in correctional education to increase opportunity for all. As a nonprofit, we rely on investments, volunteers, and are always looking for board members to champion our mission. Please connect with us through our website at prisonscholars.org, where you can find volunteer opportunities, make a contribution, and learn about becoming a board member. You can also send an email to info@prisonscholars.org. Find us through most social media platforms at Prison Scholars. Become a patron by supporting us directly at Patreon with @Prison Scholars. Without further ado, here's Dirk van Velzen, founder and CEO of the Prison Scholar Fund.
Today we have Jenny Iredale, returning resident, and we'll talk about what that means, and also doing some pretty cool things. So welcome to the show, Jenny Iredale.
Thank you, Dirk.
So tell me about yourself. What are you doing these days?
Well, working actually a lot. I'm a behavioral health technician at a facility in Sumner, Washington, a residential rehab, and a behavioral health technician just kind of kicks it with the patients, and I don't think I should even call them patients. They're guests.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you end up there?
Because of my passion to actually work with other addicts, because addiction led me to prison. And I had kind of a passion to try to help other people that have been kind of in my same footsteps or going down that path to try to deter them.
So kind of from a been there, done that perspective.
Definitely been there, definitely done that.
So do you want to talk about that? What led you down the path of drug addiction in prison?
Sure. But for me, was raised by addicts. I hate to say it, but so environment maybe played a small role for years, but I don't blame it on my past, as you might say, or my parents, because in the end it wasn't them, it was my choice. And for me it was just a lifestyle that was never presented as one you don't want to live or lead. So I kind of had to learn that on my own, that it was not a lifestyle that I cared to live or lead. Though they weren't addicts that didn't carry jobs. My parents carried jobs and they were functioning addicts. I was not as lucky.
Yeah, so what was your drug of choice?
Alcohol and meth.
Okay.
I had two.
So I heard opiates are a big deal these days.
I hear and see that to be true.
But you didn't get bit by that one?
No, never had that desire, thank God.
So how does it go from recreational use to addiction? And how do you know when you're on that slippery slope?
Well, for me, it was you kind of quit wanting to go to the job. You no longer want to function in a normal way in society. I was not an addict that could just go and mingle with everybody. When I was on my drug of choice, I didn't really care to be around a bunch of people. So that started to interfere with my job. And
so you had your own social circles you would hang out with?
Definitely. And it stopped being the ones that were productive in society.
I've heard of some people talk about meth, they'll stay up for a week at a time. Did you ever go that deep, or I don't know what your experience
Well, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
No, I did once. I did the 6 days, but
that's a long run.
That was plenty. That you start to really hallucinate, and when you see the street signs start dancing, there's issues. Says stop, but it's moving. No.
But that wasn't enough to get you to stop. Not at the time.
Not at the time. No, that was enough to get me to bed.
Yeah.
I had to go to bed at that point.
So that at that time, stop meant take a break.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The stop sign was dancing. That's where I went with that one.
So I was a club kid myself, so I did, the X and the Coke and,
I only did that ecstasy one time. Found myself following a bus one of the public transportation buses, and pretty sure I actually was pulling over with it. Like, I don't know how many bus stops I stopped at before I realized that was happening.
That you weren't going to the club?
No, that I actually wasn't, I was no longer traveling with traffic. I was actually literally following the bus.
Just following the bus.
Like pulling into the bus stop. I was on the wrong route.
So we're having a good time, or maybe not such a great time on the drug trip. Where did that stop? Did that stop when you got arrested and went to prison?
It did. It did. I actually did 2 stints in prison. The first time I got in trouble for it was manufacturing. I was helping manufacture meth. Seemed to be the thing to do. If you're an addict, it was to make money and not have to pay for my own. That was the idea. It wasn't a good one, and it landed me an 84-month DOSA sentence.
Ouch.
Yeah, which I did with not one violation.
So 84-month DOSA, does that mean you do the 42 of the 84?
I actually ended up, because I had done some county time, I only did about 28 months in prison itself, because they cut it in half and then they give you the third off of that additionally.
Okay, so tell the listeners what DOSA means, because we know, but they might not know.
It's a Drug Offense Sentencing Act.
And that gives you, if you admit to that, you get like half time from the main charge. Is that right?
It's not admit to it.
If you get found guilty.
If you are offered it. It's something that they offer, and they can only give it to you so many times in a lifetime, and so often. If you get the right or the privilege to have it and are ready to quit, it's a great opportunity. For me, it kept me sober for about 8 years.
Yeah, I remember when I was going through court, people were telling me about it, that I should tell them I had a drug problem because then I could get DOSA. But I really didn't. So I should have cooked it up and said, hey, I have a drug addiction. Put me in DOSA and I can get half my sentence knocked off.
And for some people it's helpful, some people it's not. There's a lot of people that end up doing, because if you get in trouble, you go back and do that.
The entire thing.
So it wasn't such a good idea for people that were not ready to stop.
All right, so you do your 84-month or your whatever it is.
I get out, I get married, I get on the right path, started a business with my husband at the time, had my daughter. Things are good for about 6 years, and then...
Yeah, you got a family, you got a husband, you got a job.
Yeah, and then I got a husband that wanted to do drugs on just the weekends. And
starts recreationally.
Exactly, okay. And he was actually pretty high up in a logging company and making really good money, and we were pretty financially secure off of his income. And I kind of knew what was going to happen. You start wanting to carry the bigger bag, and next thing you know, the whole logging crew's on it, and he's wanting to be a dealer and a logger, or running night logging. That doesn't work out very well. And downhill spiral from there. And at that point, I was actually accustomed to a lifestyle that I could no longer afford. So I did financial crimes that got me my next prison stint.
Gotcha. Was that like check fraud or credit card stuff?
It was check fraud. I actually, unfortunately, I was kind of familiar with the system of fraud and forgery and stuff from the years prior getting into trouble. And when I found myself in a financial crunch, I seen an opportunity to earn a substantial amount of money quickly, and I took advantage of it. I printed and ran checks against Kroger, Fred Meyer's, as I pretended to be an employee and hit every Fred Meyer's between Seattle and Portland.
Oh, cashing payroll checks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask about how the check thing worked, because I remember back in the 90s people were doing checks, but that was when people actually wrote checks.
Yeah.
So people don't really write checks anymore unless they're a payroll check.
Yeah, or unless they're doing fraud.
Yeah.
because they still do have checks, but yeah, it was payroll and not good.
So they caught you doing that somehow.
Well, I was on camera at every store that I went to.
So they don't have to catch you once.
And nor was I in a big hurry to get out of the store. I was shopping. I was on drugs.
Yeah. Did security catch you, or did they catch you later in an investigation?
It was the security cameras
Yeah.
seen me. They did not identify me. I was positively identified from people.
Small town, they recognized you.
Fairly big town, and I was
Oh.
all down the I-5 corridor, but somebody might have wanted that $1,000 reward.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew better,
Yeah.
and being a mom at that point, I shouldn't have made the sacrifice to.
Yeah, that's higher risk now.
It was huge, a big difference in going to prison before I was a mom.
So now that you go to prison as a mom, what's that like? That must, cause I've been to prison, of course, myself, but I didn't have anyone on the streets that.
Big difference.
I didn't have a wife or a girlfriend or kids to worry about.
Yeah, well, it was a big difference because I was every day with my child up till that. I was blessed enough to have my parents not intervene, but they took care of her. They took her in. My parents live close to the prison, which was another convenience, and so I raised her from behind bars with a lot of help from like the Girl Scouts behind bars and any family friendly event that they would offer. I'd get her, through the fence. And
how old was she when you went in?
Well, let's see. I want to say she was 6, almost 7, or had just turned 7. I was sentenced July 10th. So, and her birthday was June 9th. She turned 7 right then.
So tell me about what you did on the inside, and we can talk about what you're doing now.
Well, I did anything that they could offer. That when I walked in there, I had over 100 college credits already. I thought, well, an AA should be fairly achievable since I have more than enough credits for one already. But it wasn't something that was offered yet. They have since changed those rules, as you're aware. They've passed some bills that help people out in that sense now. But I wanted to continue on a path I had started, which I'd started that addiction studies degree back in 2009 when I'd first gotten out of prison, became a mom and decided to go to school and wanted to do what I'm doing now.
So you had a couple credits, you're a little ways there. You just want to pick that up and keep going.
Yeah. And I was running into a lot of obstacles on getting that accomplished while I was in there.
I think that's when I bumped into you. So tell me about what program you were in. Tell me about the obstacles and I guess how we connected.
Well, let's see. I ran into FEPS first, which FEPS was actually trying to help women inside of only Purdy, to get an associate's degree. They started, as you know, with a lot of the ladies that were there for a significant amount of time that seen a problem, and the problem was I can't ever get an AA, and I've spent 15 years in prison.
Yeah.
But an issue that they had is, I started that program, so I was only into English 101 and a few other classes that they offered, and they up and moved me to another facility.
Is that when you went to Mission Creek, the camp, right?
When I went to Mission Creek, and they had nothing to offer as far as furthering my education. And that's when I started reaching out to anybody and everybody that would listen, and you are one of the only 2 people that would listen out of like 100 letters I sent out.
So how did you find us?
I'm trying to think of originally who I want to say. I felt like you found me, but I think it was.
Yeah. Oh, I think it might have come through FEPS. I think
it was
FEPS. One of the FEPS people said, "Hey,
I got this
think
girl."
Because I think we got 2 letters. I got one letter through somebody at FEPS, and then also a letter from you. And that kind of says something about your personality. You said you sent 100 letters. We got something from FEPS, and also you wrote us, so you must have got our address someplace.
It was quite an obstacle just to get research done.
Oh, yeah.
To find out addresses. They don't give you a phone book, and nor do they give you, unlike a bigger facility like Purdy, they would offer you to go in and you can get like 10 pages of things printed up off the internet weekly, or anytime you go into the library. They didn't have that resource there.
Yeah, because some prisons had that satellite library. You guys didn't have the little satellite place?
No, we had the borrowing library, where if you wanted something, you I forget what the ILL.
Yeah. Okay. Interlibrary loan.
That is the extent of any sort of research. If you want something, hopefully there's a book at another prison about it.
Yeah, it's funny. I did the ILL, but the one I use, it could be from any library in America, but you could only get one book. So I would get all of my friends. Everyone would check out one book, so I could get a whole stack of books.
I ran into a few officers. They might call it staff shopping. I think I've been warned about that.
Hey, if it's effective, right?
It was effective because once in a while you'd get somebody that had the passion and could see that all you're trying to do is change. Like, I'm trying to do something good here. Why do I got to keep getting browbeat over it? You know.
That's why it's kind of funny because like underneath what you're really trying to do. You're trying to educate yourself.
Yeah.
You want an address so you can educate yourself. You want books so you can educate yourself.
I'm wanting to do better when I walk out of here.
Yeah.
And I would sometimes remind them, which they might not have wanted to hear, that I may end up your neighbor. Don't you want me to change?
Yeah.
I'm like, think about it. I'm not going away. Like, I'm here for 3.5 years. You might as well just surrender.
I love it.
All I want is some addresses.
And I'll see you next week for something else.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's funny, like from our perspective, probably half of the people that apply for funding want to do business courses. Maybe 40% want to do substance disorder and abuse. And that's kind of the road you went down.
Yeah.
And I think everyone has their own reason, but they're probably really similar to yours. So it sounded like your path happened before you got to prison.
Yeah, as far as
wanting to do that degree.
Yeah, before I got to prison this time, because I had decided to take that path when I left prison the first time.
Yeah, I think some other people, they like that path because they get to prison. I think they end up in some kind of AA or an NA program, and they see it run by people that are like, they're not subject matter experts, they're just EOC staff.
Yeah.
So what did you see on the inside?
Well, I did not participate in any AA or NA programs. Unfortunately, those are a lot of times places just for people that are coupled up, or it's a meeting spot.
Oh, gotcha.
And it kept me out of the churches and the AA, NA programs because I was about something different, and it wasn't. I get too irritated, and I'm a little verbal. I may end up in some confrontational situations if you're just sitting there gabbing with your girlfriend and I'm trying to gain something.
I thought that some of those programs were mandated by the EEOC if you have a drug conviction.
If you're in therapeutic community,
it
might be different. They have a completely set up program that they're running in there. They do offer AA, NA to just regular population as well. And those are the meeting spots.
Yeah, like, I remember that too. Everyone would go to law library or NA or Toastmasters just to get out of the cell and go talk to their friends.
Yeah, which is understandable, and I really didn't have a problem with. But I did want to put myself in a compromised situation if I was thirsty for it and felt that the people coming were disrespected.
Yeah,
it just wasn't a situation I cared to be a part of. I am now actively going to a women's meeting every Monday night. Love it.
It's actually legit now.
Yeah, and then when I walked into this meeting, I originally picked it because it was the closest one to my house, only a few blocks from my house. When I walked in the first night, I recognized a few faces. Well, they were the women that come into NA in Purdy. So they are all actual members. This is their home group as well. So I felt a comfort immediately, and then the more I heard people talk, it was the majority of women that are coming in there are already in the profession. They've been down the path. They've either been in prison or they're advocating to help people coming out of prison. It was just a strong group of professional women that have an attachment to addiction. And so I felt comfortable immediately. And it's conveniently located by my house, so I continue to go.
So are you driving now?
Yeah.
Oh, how's that feel?
Everywhere. It feels great. Driving has always been a freedom, a passion of mine. So I'd like to be able to get and go when I want to go. Having that recently removed ankle monitor, that feels...
That must be nice.
That feels great. That gave me a new lease on life. I can actually find myself... I hadn't walked to the mailbox yet, and I had been out since December. It was just right out of my reach. I didn't want to get in
Oh,
trouble.
it was outside the perimeter
It was
of
outside my perimeter.
your ankle bracelet perimeter.
Exactly. So I find myself a few times lately, or over the last week, going to walk out, and I stop, almost like a dog getting to the end of
His invisible yard.
Yeah. Like, oh, wait a minute, I can cross that line.
Because it doesn't actually shock you, but the cops are coming, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's worse than shocking. I'd rather get at least a shock for a reminder or something, some warning.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of funny, I think, were you one of the people that ended up in the hole over the tweeting incident?
I definitely was.
Oh my God, tell me about that.
Oh, okay. Well, first off, I'm doing really good at this point.
Yeah, school's going well, you're taking some
I had
classes.
got my first scholarship. I think I'd even got my book. I was fighting for one and had received one.
We can talk about the book issue again after this one, because the book issue is totally funny too.
Yeah, up or down or all arounders, yes.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the whole and
yeah, so as far as the listeners, Jenny Iredale was tweeting for us, which means we have the computer and we have the Twitter account, but she's actually composing tweets and sending them to us through JPay, which was kind of like an e-messaging service for prisoners. So she doesn't have a phone, she's not tweeting, but she's sending us the tweets. And we're tweeting on our account, but saying, hey, this is an awesome tweet from Jenny. So we're giving her credit for her words.
Exactly. And I believe at this point, that may have only been my first or second tweet.
Yeah, it was right into it.
I had actually just sent out one. I want to say I had received your message. I know that happened right before they locked down the day room area and the cops were coming. That said, great picture or good picture, great tweet. You had made a comment back.
Yeah.
And that set him off. In our facility, first off, I gotta say, in our JPay settings, we had 2 JPays, and they have a PVC pipe it's PVC pipes that they've built kind of like shower walls.
Okay.
And they've put like shower curtains behind them. So anytime you're taking a picture, you're not showing the other people behind you or anything like that. And in this particular incident, there happens to be big pink flowers behind me. This plays a part in having to fill the prison in on this happened in your day room.
Yeah.
There's no phone.
As far as the image from the tweet.
As far as the image from the tweet,
Yeah.
because they want to know how I'm taking pictures.
Yeah, because that came off the JPay machine,
Mhm.
the bona fide.
Yeah, that came off of their machine.
Yeah.
That picture was not in my room. I don't have a white curtain with a pink flower behind it.
Nor would you
on
probably
my
pick
wall,
that.
on my wall in my cell. But that particular day, they locked down our whole facility, and I by no means thought that they were coming for me that day. So we did our normal,
Just minding your business, drinking your coffee.
I'm listening to what they say, though. I went and I went to my room, and at this point, I actually there was 4 of us in a room with 2 mama cats and 10 kittens. I was part of their cat program.
Okay.
So just chilling, Well, once they sent us to our room, we got one person at the door, watching where they're going, what's happening.
Yeah, what's all this excitement?
Yeah, well, we know somebody's going down. Who's it going to be? And then they march all the way down, and I'm like the last room on the right down this alleyway. We're just like, they're still coming. They're at our door. Like, what? And then Iredale, you need to step out here, and I'm like, what?
And of course, you're really not doing anything wrong anymore.
I wasn't doing anything that I felt was definitely sagable, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh no, they found out I had whiteout and floor wax to do my nails. I'm like, as a matter of fact, I ended up telling myself about that. I'm like, was it the floor wax? Like that, because they asked me, I better describe this. I had went the day prior to Purdy for a medical outing. So their words to me is, well, when I say, what are you taking me for right there, they're like, we can discuss this later. As they're walking me out, we get outside, they said, one of the officers said at least, what'd you bring back from Purdy with you? And I didn't bring that floor wax back that day. I packed it, and it had actually been with me the whole time.
Like, all of this over floor wax, really?
I know. I'm like, I totally didn't think it was sagable. But they just kind of left me in the dark until,
And when you say segable, that means you're going to segregation, which is the hole.
which is the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna, and Mission Creek, it's like a hole.
Yeah.
Like
You're going to the prison inside of a prison.
yeah, you're going inside this little tiny area that they have one that's not a dry, they have one that actually has a toilet in these little cells. It's not set up for keeping people long term, that's for sure. Which that time I was actually only in there, I got to give them props for 24 hours. They just left me kind of in the dark on what was going on. The very next morning, though, our CPM custody program manager, comes to the cell door, and he's like, "Why don't you? What do you know about social media?" That's his first words, and I said, as far as like Facebook,
you have to be a little bit more precise.
I have an account. I got Facebook. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you know anything about any Twitter? And my light bulb kind of went on. I'm like, yeah, I've actually been doing a lot of tweeting. It's kind of been a platform for a scholarship that I just got, and I'm pretty sure it's completely legal.
Because it goes through your machine.
Yeah. And he goes, well, what about sending pictures? Which this ended up being fairly funny in itself. Is that he wasn't even aware that, and this man runs the facility, which made it a little scarier, but he wasn't aware that our machines were taking pictures, which they had been since December. And this was June, I believe, when I got in trouble.
So he didn't know that JPay kiosk took pictures.
I don't know what he thought we had curtains around him for, but I'm like, I'm a little lost. Like, where?
Maybe so people don't read the text over your shoulder?
I don't know where he's going that, but he was not updated that JPay had became where they could actually now take pictures, because apparently they didn't always take pictures. That was like a added feature to them around that time.
Yeah, I can't remember back in my time if they took pictures or not, but I don't know.
I think it just switched, because I think it was only like 6 months into it, so we gave him a little bit of, okay, maybe you just didn't realize.
Yeah.
Because when I explained to him, he's like, well, you're doing tweets, and where are you taking these pictures at? In the meantime, while I had sat in that cell all night long, they had literally stripped out my whole hallway. Tore up the rooms down my whole hallway. I used to water the house plants inside of this unit, which there's about 20 house plants. They dumped them out looking for cell phones maybe underneath plants.
So pull the plants out. There's dirt all over the place.
There's dirt. We had a garden outside, and I actually at this point had never even attended to this garden. But somebody said I'd take care of plants, and it grew to... Maybe they're under those plants. I don't know.
So now that, since they can't find the phone because the phone doesn't exist, they're just going nuts, just digging up the place.
They were trying to find this phone. Yeah. This phone that they were pretty sure existed.
And was this before they even asked you?
They had not asked me. When I knew nothing until that next morning.
They're going to go find it anyways.
They were looking for a cell phone. They knew what they were after, and it was a cell phone.
You're so sure you had a cell phone.
Yeah. Okay. And there was quite a... I mean, I actually got cheered when I came back in because they tore up our unit. They were actually locked down the rest of the evening, getting stripped, getting searched, the whole rest of it, my particular hallway, because apparently they thought if I had something, I would have kept it within the CAP program.
Yeah.
So when I came walking back up, anyways, this
but you didn't get out right then because
I got out.
There was more.
I got out that next morning after the CPM had come and seen me. And I had enlightened him on the fact that they do take pictures. He excused himself. He said, well, you need to give me a minute. And he was going to talk to whoever he had to talk to and try to figure this out. And he came back within an hour and was like, you're going to be getting out. And apparently not realizing that they took photographs. That was kind of, because that's where he was going. She's got to be taking pictures in a room. We've seen that she's sending pictures. I'm not quite sure how that all got misconstrued, or nobody along the way realized that they take pictures. Because from what I hear, they actually threw somebody else in the hole in a different prison.
And her story is slightly different than yours. So in her case, she was at Purdy. Mm-hmm. And so they grabbed her, and this time they actually asked her first. They said, hey, where's the phone? She goes, oh, no, you're mistaken. I don't have a phone. I do this all through the JPay kiosk. I take the picture there. I send the tweets through the JPay kiosk, so you can just go and look at my history, and you can see all the tweets going through the JPay kiosk, because I send that to Dirk at the Prison Scholar Fund, and he tweets for me. And they said, okay, great. So they throw her back in the hole, and then of course they don't believe her, so they're tearing up the entire place too. And she actually stayed longer than you, because at that point somebody notified me that you both were in the hole. I think it was her friend, because I think when she was in the hole, somebody called,
yeah.
help.
Tell so-and-so to call so-and-so. Yeah. I know how it works. It might have taken 24 hours to get you the message, but we're going to get it to you.
And then so I reached out to a woman named Carrie Waterland. She's in Olympia. She's the head of the entire DSC education program. And she knew that we were tweeting, and actually our prison scholars were tweeting. So I call her up, 9 o'clock in the morning. I was like, hey, do you remember when we talked about us tweeting? She goes, oh my God, I love your tweets. I just got one this morning. I said, well, not everyone loves them, because two of our women are in the hole now. And so she connected me to whoever's in charge of Western Washington Prison Division.
Mm-hmm. Well, I found it kind of funny, your next text, if you care to tweet anymore. I'm like, it's not going to stop me. I mean, they got my floor waxed. So my whiteout. I can no longer look good with French tips. But,
that's the worst part you lost your floor wax?
Yeah, well, I actually gained gardening after that as well, because they lost their drive to, because they pulled up all the zucchini plants and stuff. And so I gained a little bit of extra activity, which was nice for me, because I like being out in the dirt.
That's why it felt from one point of view, it felt horrible that you ended up in the hole because we asked you to tweet for us. But from a different point of view, it's like, we shouldn't feel bad because the prison violated your First Amendment rights.
No.
So.
Yeah.
So that's a tough situation.
For me, I kind of laughed about it, because the comment was made that we're doing this as a platform. We want to be heard, or we want people to hear about it, and after that, everybody in the prison at least knew about it, because it wasn't that I went around telling everybody what I was doing, but after that, the officers knew. So I looked at it as, well, there's a little bit of a platform, because now it went out to other people.
Yeah. Speaking of education, you also had a book issue. So
this was all within my.
Just in a couple months, all this happened.
And at the very beginning of finally I see the light. Somebody wants to listen.
After all the struggling, you finally get enrolled to school, you get your scholarship, and
then
boom.
The very first book that rolled through was not allowed by DOC. It was on their list of banned books.
And what book was that?
That is Uppers, Downers, All Arounders.
And since you're studying to be a chemical dependency counselor, that's required reading for your degree.
Very much so, and I will say that book does not have a bunch of nudity. I'm still in a little bit of awe to this day on why that would be such a restricted book. Some of the things that they had listed was pictures of drugs.
Like recipes on how to make drugs?
Not overly descriptive. No, it's not giving you a step-by-step direction.
So it's not a cookbook?
No, it's not the anarchist cookbook, and by no means. It's more for educational purposes. But
somehow it's on the banned book list.
It is definitely on the banned
book list. Because drugs are bad.
And that book, I actually I could use it, but I had to return it every day after I was done using it.
Could you leave the education department checked it out to you, or was that an officer?
Well, I ended up getting transferred before I had won the right to use that book. So when I got back to Purdy and was able to use that book, I could use it. And in one unit, I actually had to take it back to my room and then bring it out.
What freedom?
Yeah. And then in another living unit, they actually wanted me to do my homework in the day room so they could see me with the book. This is not really conducive for homework.
Make sure no one else is looking over your shoulder, writing down
directions, or
on the cookbook. That's not a cookbook.
The side effects of meth. You might, they might want this.
Yeah, it's like here.
It was silly. One thing I found a little bit of humor in that is Miss Oswald from over Mission Creek. She kind of helped try to advocate a little bit on that book, and even offer up, hey, she could do it here in the classroom. I'll keep, the book. And Ms. Oswald later met up with me. She started doing more stuff over in Purdy, And I'd see her a few times, and one day she said, I just seen a copy of that book. Somebody was carrying a copy of that book. And I just had to laugh because...
You got out, it's contraband.
Well, actually, one of the libraries, I'm not going to say which particular part of the facility, has it in their library. And
so your book that you bought
not
for
mine.
School, yeah, same book.
A copy of that book already existed within the prisons freely.
So the book that you bought for your education, you couldn't get, but there's still a copy in the prison's
exactly.
library.
It might be an older edition, but it was definitely uppers, downers, and all arounders.
That's hilarious.
It was pretty hilarious. And then she pointed it out. She goes, I've seen somebody walk by with that book. I'm like, what? Well, it's not my book. They've got it locked up. Yeah. It was funny. All the different obstacles it took just to
take a class.
Yeah.
So then how far did you get in prison? And then you just got out recently. So tell me about the transition and what you're doing now, and if you're going to finish your degree. And
well, the 5 classes that I took while I was in there, because the only paper-based, as you know, place that offered the addiction studies and that was willing to transfer in some of my credits that I had prior was at Rio Salado. So I was kind of mapping myself for their addictions associates and took the 5 classes, the pharmacology, 5 ones. I remember pharmacology and the theories and techniques. You funded, I want to say, 3 of those 5.
It sounds like, and I think you got a Rotary Scholarship.
I did. I actually got 2 Rotary scholarships. But when I got out, I took what I had because I didn't gain enough yet. It's kind of a slow process in there, trying to get everything done. And, it took me 2 years just to get 5 classes done.
Oh, I totally know. It took me 10 years for a 4-year degree. Yeah. And I was going as fast as I could.
Yeah, the last 2 years, it took me 1.5 years to get to where I could even get a book.
Yeah.
Got for me. But I'm just grateful for the whole process. But when I got out, I went immediately, the first week, went to Tacoma Community College. I was in perfect timing for the winter quarter. I signed up for their human service course, hoping that all my credits would transfer in and it'd just be peaches and cream and I could go into a practicum. I'd only have like 2 more quarters. So I took the first quarter and then they gave me this bad news of, you're going to have to do like another year of classes to get this AA in human services.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Stuff didn't transfer over?
But I reached out to Peninsula College with the advice of one of the ladies that works at Tacoma Community College. And I reached out to my old advisor and was like, here's where I'm at. Here's what I've got. I feel like when I'm looking at the checklist, I feel like my classes definitely aligned up with, what the courses are that I needed. And she looked at it and she made a few, not exceptions, but where she transferred them all in, all the ones from Rio. She called me back about 3 weeks into that second quarter that I was at TCC and said, well, I need you to take a CPR and a psychology, and you can walk with the class. And I'm like, well, I dropped the classes I was in, hurried up and got over to the CPR, the psychology, and walked this June with my original class that I had started in 2009. Well, not with the class.
Yeah.
With the school, because my class had already been graduated like 8 years prior.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I can't wait actually to do the bachelor's. My sister graduated with her bachelor's in the human service field from Western. So I got some questions for her. She did most of hers online.
Do you want to go Western then?
I'm thinking Western just because of what they offer, and that because I don't know exactly where I'm going to be. Maybe just start plucking away at the bachelor's, not try to do nothing full time right now.
And then do you need so as far as work, talk about what you're doing now, and do you need the degree to take you to the next level?
I don't. I need the degree to take me to the next level of pay. Because they definitely pay better if you got a bachelor's compared to associates. But I can actually accomplish the substance use disorder.
Because that's what your goal was in this first place, just to help people with the same problem you have.
Exactly. And just with my associates alone, I'm able to do that. I've already applied for the credentials, waiting on, the restrictions that come with having a record and Just waiting on Washington State to want to give me that seal of approval.
Or do they have to give you some kind of certificate to?
They have to give me credentials, which would be they just recently changed. It used to be a chemical dependency therapist in training. Now it's a substance use disorder therapist in training.
And did you have to get residency hours at the place you're working at now?
At the place I work or anywhere, as long as I'm getting the hours. I think it's like 1,500 hours that I have to accumulate to go to the next level. Might be a little bit more. I know it's less hours if I was walking in with a bachelor versus an associate's.
Because part of the hours from the bachelor's count.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
But that's the path I'm going to take, and even if I don't accomplish my bachelor's right away, I'm helping people. Totally enjoying my job. Looking forward to it. I mean, just watching the transition from somebody coming into detox and then leaving even our facility in 30, 40 days, just watching growth and trying to help them get through the tough shit.
Yeah, tell me a couple stories about that. Because you've been through it yourself, so how does that feel to not doing it yourself and then also see someone doing the same struggle?
What I can say is I was blessed not to have to go through some of the things that I witnessed with the withdrawals, whether it's because of their drug of choice. With heroin, it seems to be a really hard detox for people. It's life-changing. I mean, can't tell too many stories because of HIPAA, but there's situations like the other day. I got the luxury of being like the first person somebody's seen after we had Narcan them, and they're like, "Who are you? And why am I here sitting in a hospital?" I'm like, "Well, here's the deal, bud. I come to work and I got to come and see you." And,
things didn't end well on your side.
No, we say brought you back to life. Hopefully, you're ready to live it. So, same person I got the luxury of bowling with the other day, and we can now, a few weeks later, joke about it. He's all, "Who the hell are you?" every time he sees me.
Remember that one time?
Yeah, because we go way back. But I like feeling like what I'm doing is helping, and with some people, I can actually tell it is. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty rewarding, and I think I'm in the perfect spot for myself to keep me grounded, to keep it fresh, that is what happens, that addiction is going to take me nowhere but back to prison or dead.
That's a good path to be on.
Yeah.
Not that one.
Not the one for death or back to prison. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much, Jenny. Is there anything else you want to toss in the mix?
No, I just thank you, because you definitely made a big difference in my life.
Well, thank you.
You stepped in when I thought I was in a system that really didn't give a shit. So there needs to be more people like you out there doing stuff. So I don't mind coming and talking or putting my 2 cents in, because you made a difference in where I went.
I totally appreciate it. And I love to watch you guys do a great job.
Yeah.
So keep up the good stuff.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jenny.
You're welcome.